Hi, and welcome back to Focal Point AFR Talk. Just some kind of unrelated content here, but stuff I find interesting. You know, we constantly talk about the tyranny of government and how it reaches every level. Here, our Connecticut health officials are cracking down on a guy who was given free haircuts in a city park to homeless guys. And his friends were feeding these guys in the park. He's been doing this for 25 years. He got an award for his philanthropic humanitarian outreach last year from the city. And this year they're out there busting him down. And these health officials cited safety and sanitation. And the barber says, hey, and they're cracking down on him because he's not a licensed barber. And he says, hey, 25 years I've been given haircuts and no one died on me. So a year ago, they're giving him a citation for all the good work that he's been doing. He's been giving out free haircuts to the homeless in the city since 1988. In fact, he says when it started, he was volunteering at a shelter and he met a heroin addict named Arnold. And he said, Arnold, not only are you a bum, you look like a bum. How about I bring my clippers? And that's when it started in 1988 till they got busted for giving haircuts to the homeless without a license. You're probably familiar with the song Happy Birthday. It shows up in movies all the time. Well, there's a lawsuit right now arguing that that song ought to be in the public domain. It's a $5 million lawsuit. The song is 120 years old, and normally when it comes to literary productions like that, you don't have a copyright that lasts 120 years. It goes into the public domain at some point, and anybody can publish it. That's why you can get cheap copies of literary classics. But this song was written in 1893, and the version that's copyrighted, if you see the copyright information at the end of a movie that has Happy Birthday in it, you'll see the copyright dated back to 1935 by somebody named Mildred Hill or somebody like that. You know, and I don't know how much money the owners of this copyright are getting every time that song plays. They get a fee. You got to pay because they've got a copyright on it. You got to pay a fee to use a song. And the guy that started this lawsuit had to pay $1,500 to use that song in a movie. He got tired of it. Say it's 120 years old, ought to be in the public domain. The White House, we refer to them as the Founding Fathers. Now, the problem with that, as far as secular fundamentalists are concerned, that's sexist, despite the fact that there aren't any founding mothers. There were no females at the Continental Congress. There were no females that drafted the Declaration of Independence. There were no females involved in drafting the Constitution. They were the Founding Fathers, as in male-type humans. Well, the White House, regardless of the fact that that's just history, I mean, that's just the way it is. That's the way it happened. That's just a fact. They have, on the White House website, they changed it from Founding Fathers to Founding Founders. Now, apparently they're going back on that because they got such blowback for that kind of silliness. They're going back to Founding Fathers, but they were calling them the Founding Founders, trying to make our history as a people gender neutral. Cannot be done. Too late for that. Even the Washington Post picking up on the cost of President Obama's trip to Africa. According to Weekly Standard, they've totaled it up. $60 to $100 million it's going to cost the American taxpayers for him to take this trip to Africa. And it's going to involve a safari. Now, before I get into the safari business just for a second, here's what the Washington Post is. Even the Washington Post is onto this. Hundreds of U.S. Secret Service agents, a Navy aircraft carrier or amphibious ship will be around with a fully staffed medical trauma center stationed offshore. There are going to be military cargo planes that will airlift 56 support vehicles, including 14 limousines, 3 trucks loaded with sheets of bulletproof glass to cover the windows of the hotels. Fighter jets will fly in shifts, giving 24-hour coverage over the president's airspace so they can intervene quickly if an errant plane gets too close. $60 to $100 million for this extravaganza. And, you think this is the way potentates travel. This is the way royalty travels. I'm reading this and I'm thinking of the Queen of Sheba from the days of Solomon and the retinue, the caravan that traveled with her when she came to see Solomon. This is not the way the leader of a constitutional republic travels. They were going to go on a Tanzanian safari, and here's why I think they canceled that, and I think their explanation was, hey, it just got to be too expensive. That was the cover story. It just got to be too expensive to do the safari and the boat trip and all the other things. But here's a paragraph in the Washington Post piece. The president and first lady had also planned to take a Tanzanian safari as part of the trip, which would have required the president's special counter-assault team to carry sniper rifles with high-caliber rounds that could neutralize cheetahs, lions, or other animals if they became a threat. And I think what they realized, that's going to be really, really bad optics. You know, if Chester the cheetah starts charging the presidential cavalcade and some sniper takes him out, that is going to be bad optics for the president. I think we're going to settle for the boat trip. So that is all the story on that front. Now, I've got a soundbite I want to play. This is clip number 2, Rob. You know, President Obama has done as much for the homosexual agenda just about as anybody, but gay rights advocates, according again to the Obama, to do more. They want him to issue an executive order to broaden the federal government's recognition of legally married same-sex couples for federal benefits. And if the Supreme Court strikes down this ban, part of DOMA is you cannot provide federally funded benefits to domestic partners in same-sex relationships. Those benefits are just for people that are married to each other. And so the homosexual activists are already pressing Obama, look, if DOMA gets overturned, you got to immediately issue an executive order to grant the full range of benefits. Now, here is part of the problem is that there are some benefits like Social Security payments to spouses, marital tax deductions, that are determined based on the marriage laws of the states where the couples live. So if the Supreme Court overturns the Defense of Marriage Act, then full benefits would be available to same-sex couples who marry and live in the dozen states that legally recognize gay marriage. They will get all of these benefits. The same-sex couples that live in states that only recognize natural marriages, they would be ineligible for a range of federal benefits. Well, how long is that going to last? I mean, if DOMA is overturned, you are going to get same-sex marriage recognized either officially or de facto in all 50 states. And it's a reminder on this homosexual agenda, they're never content. It's never, ever enough with them. They will never stop. They will never stop until we are completely neutralized, till we are completely silenced, till we are completely boxed in. They will not stop until every form of sexual aberration is legally protected in law. And another sign of how relentless the homosexual agenda is, you know, you would think with what the Boy Scouts did by saying homosexuals could be in the scout troops, that this would please homosexual activists. It has not. They are still in high dudgeon that the Boy Scouts are not allowing adult homosexuals to serve as scout leaders. And here's a story from yesterday. Caterpillar is dropping their Boy Scout support. They were a corporate donor to the Boy Scouts. They're no longer going to give money to the Boy Scouts because they don't allow homosexuals to serve as scout leaders. So it wasn't enough for them that they were going to allow homosexuals to be scouts. If they were going to allow homosexual scout leaders, then they are going to pull their money. And one last story before we go to that soundbite, clip number 2, is I've got a piece here from a website, a pro-gay website, saying this: conservatives were actually right on this one. The gay agenda is infiltrating our public schools, and you know what? It's absolutely fabulous. This is a piece written by a kindergarten teacher at Olympic Primary Center in the Los Angeles Unified School District, and she talks about how pro-gay her kindergarten class is and how she talks about no discrimination based on sexual preference right there in her kindergarten class, and how they celebrate it and how they sing about it and how they talk about God doesn't like the world to be black and white, so he made many colors. So she's perfectly willing to invoke God. I mean, God's okay apparently in the public schools as long as he sanctions sodomy. As long as your God is pro-sodomy, you can talk about him all you want in the public schools, especially if you can use him to normalize homosexual behavior with kindergartners. Now, yesterday, President Obama spoke at an LGBT Pride event. June is Gay Pride Month. And to show you that the gay agenda is down in our elementary schools, he had 2 9-year-old twins introduce him at this event. And here's part of the introduction by these third graders. Again, what's the point here? The point here is to normalize homosexuality in elementary school, even down to kindergarten. Here are these twins introducing the president.
Third, we ask the president for his support of gay marriage because we have...
We're almost done.
Because we have 2 moms and they are just as good as other parents. They love us a lot. Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States.
And so thunderous applause for these twins that are introducing the President of the United States. We asked the President to support same-sex marriage. The place erupts in cheers. We have 2 moms. They're just as good as other parents. They introduce the President. Everybody goes absolutely crazy. So again, you know, the homosexual agenda now is very obviously with the President's endorsement. I mean, the President is behind this, saying even third graders ought to be introduced to the concept that lesbianism and homosexuality perfectly normal. Kindergarten teachers celebrating the fact that the gay agenda is in public schools. And she's celebrating the fact that everything the conservatives have been warning us about the gay agenda infiltrating all levels of the education system, all of that, she says, is absolutely true. And it's no surprise, I got another story in the stack here about how homeschooling is growing at 700% of the rate of enrollment in public school. Parents have just had it with the brainwashing, had it with the indoctrination, growing 7 times faster than public school enrollment, parents educating their kids at home. And here's why. Focal Point AFR Talk.